This video is brought to you by Mountain Extreme of Rockton, PA. Whether you're in the market for a Can-Am, CF Moto ATV or side-by-side, Can-Am or KO youth ATVs or dirt bikes, Spider and Riker on-road motorcycles, as well as CF Moto on-road motorcycles, bad boy mowers, or even your full line of Articat and Ski-Doo sleds when that white stuff flies. A full line of riding gear and apparel as well to suit your needs. And let's not forget parts and accessories for your machine. When you're ready for the peak of performance in the power sports game, then look no farther than Mountain Extreme of Rockton, PA. If you guys are thinking about a KRX1000 and that's what brought you to this review, let me know why you are leaning towards buying one or why you decided against it in the comments below. Also, let me know what machines you want to see me review next coming up this year, and maybe it's about high time we do get some big turbo machines up here to the AMR Proving Grounds to put them through their paces.
Well, I may be late to the party, but I finally got me a Kawasaki KRX up here to the AMR Proving Grounds. So in this video, we're going to run this guy through its paces and see what it's made of. Now, the good thing about it taking so long for me to get one of these is most reviews you see are brand spanking new machines. Everything's tight, everything's in pristine condition. This puppy I got here today is a used machine with nearly 3,000 miles. So at 3,000 miles, we're going to be able to see how well it's held up, see what kind of bangs and rattles she has with that amount of mileage, and see if we still have a good solid machine after a good amount of trail time. In full disclosure for everyone, I'm coming into this review really hoping that I didn't care much for this machine. That's nothing against Kawasaki, that's nothing against the machine itself. It mostly has to do with the fact that I've had my R-Max for nearly 6 years now, and I've got to admit I have a little bit of new paint fever where I'm thinking it might be time for a new machine. But the R-Max is paid for, there's nothing wrong with it, and I don't want to get rid of it, so I don't want to be tempted by any new machine. And after a good amount of time of ripping in this guy, I'm awful tempted, guys.
And that temptation begins with the looks of the KRX. I love the looks of this machine. From the front profile that has the raised fenders and the hood scoop, it just looks mean when you're staring at it. Even the accent lighting in the headlights look fantastic. The factory headlights are good and bright. You get high and low, of course. Open fields, they provide plenty of visibility. It does show up a lot better in person than what shows up here on camera, so they do appear brighter in real life. However, as with most factory headlights, the light is pretty much focused forward, so you don't have a whole lot of side visibility. So if you do a lot of night riding, you probably are going to want to add a couple accent lights that help give you more visibility to the sides and not directly up front. The rear, with its C and reverse C tail lights, looks great. The interior is fantastic. Seats are comfy. Dash is well laid out. The display is right in front of you. It does have a little storage here on the front center, and of course a traditional glove box, which also hides the knob for the adjustable passenger grab bar, which is nice because that keeps that out of the mud and grime. And even behind the seats, there is a ton of storage back here. You could throw a day bag or whatever and have lots of storage behind the seat. In the back, there is a huge storage area for throwing your coolers or camping gear or whatever have you. And this specific model has the Kawasaki optional tailgate that closes it off to keep stuff from sliding. You just turn those knobs there and this will come right off and give you an open bed once again. This unit also had the optional Kawasaki roof with the see-through top, which I loved. The display shows all your important information. I love that it has a CV temp gauge. Of course, your headlight button is on the left, and then all your other controls are on the right. Forward drive, your low power switch, and then this had a little light bar and a winch installed, so it has a couple other switches there for that.
I always try to go into these reviews with as neutral of an opinion as I can. So when I got behind the wheel of this guy for the first time and ripped her around the farm here, I gotta say, I've really been liking it. To the point, I can safely say that if I didn't have the R-Max and was looking for a machine, this might be the one that I go for. Now, obviously, Kawasaki has marketed this as a pure sport side-by-side, but my time in the seat here, I really can't say that this is a pure sport machine. First off, let's talk about the performance, because the main thing a pure sport machine needs is some good performance. So obviously I took this around the short course. I did a 0 to 30 run, and here's the results we got from that. We're in high gear, 4-wheel drive. Let's just see what she gets. Oh, now she's ready. 0 to 30. Full power mode, and go. This KRX has a big hesitation when you give it gas. If you put it to the floor, it takes it a while to get there. We got a 0 to 30 though, 3.11 seconds. Very respectable. It's definitely in the top couple of our leaderboards so far of all the machines we've done. Let's do a couple more runs. 3, 2, 1, launch! To the floor, 3.13 seconds, a little bit slower that time. Okay, run number 3 in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So the trick is to not just mash it to the floor, but give it a moderately amount of speed to the floor. We got a 3.04 seconds. So that's going to be our official time in this KRX1000, 3.04 seconds.
And with that, it was time to hit the very muddy and wet side-by-side course. Despite the conditions of the track, we still managed a very respectable 39.8 second best run.
Alright, let's do a high-speed run up here on my windy hill. I think these are limited to like 65 miles an hour. We should have enough room to hit that, but I'm not sure because we have that good dip, and on that uphill climb, when we're in the top end going up that, it does kill our speed a little bit. We'll see if we can hit that 65 before we gotta slow down. Pedals to the floor. 50. 60. Yeah, we hit about 62 with that hill. On the flat, this thing would easily get to that 65 that it's limited to. No problem. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would like to have a little more top end speed than that, but 65 is plenty on a big old machine like this. It's not going to keep up with your big turbo machines, obviously, but it's not made to. As far as the Talon and a Maverick Sport that we reviewed last fall, this thing is right in line with those guys. So the market that it's aimed at, it's right there with all the rest. What hurts the KRX1000 is its off the line get up and go. It feels very sluggish from a standstill. Oh, there's a limb down. Oh, we can make it up over that. Oh, we're spinning tire. Mid and high end of this engine, it screams, it gets off, feels like it's had plenty of power, but that low end just feels like it takes so long to come on. Suspension wise is pretty nice. This has Fox shocks, 11 different compression settings. It is compression only.
and taking it across the country whoops at about 25 to 30 miles an hour, the suspension soaked everything up to where you didn't feel it much. Here in the slow-mo, you can really see it. It absorbed the impact. Though I do gotta say that our country whoops are getting a little worn down and aren't as country whoopsy as they used to be. Over the where did that come from, it handled the sudden dip that you might not see out there like nothing. So if you're driving along and hit an unexpected bumper dip, you're not going to lose control. And of course, we had to take it over the I Believe I Can Fly jump, and as you would expect it with the big massive Fox shocks and suspension travel, it didn't bottom out and it handled this jump quite beautifully. So if you want to jump it, go for it.
At higher speed, it soaks up everything very well. Lower speeds, you feel everything. My RMAX is the same way with the Fox shocks, so that just may be a characteristic of the Fox shocks. As far as suspension flex, let's take her up our flex test here, and we'll see how she does. I'm not going to give you any specific suspension numbers. You guys can get all them stats online. Wow, I gotta say, I'm feeling no tire lift whatsoever. No big flops. So that's impressive. That is impressive. This machine felt like the tires were in contact with the ground the entire time, so that is very, very nice. As far as the cabin, very comfortable cabin. I like the layout. Everything's nice and easy to get at. The shifter, very nice high, low, neutral, reverse. This thing shifts very smooth like silk even after 3,000 miles. No park. It does have a designated parking brake. Two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and it has a front diff lock, which for me is a must. Light switch over there, typical. This does have a low power mode, which reduces you to 3/4 throttle, max throttle, and also really changes the mapping. Here we are in full power. You see how responsive that is? In low power, look at that. I hope you guys can see that. In high power, it's a different animal, so it's a lot more touchy, but that's nice. The low power mode's nice if you're rock crawling. My one biggest complaint is in the control triangle for the driver. What I'm talking about with the control triangle is the correlation between the pedals, your shoulders, and the steering wheel. When I get to where I feel like it's in the perfect reach for my arms, I feel like my legs are too far forward and it kind of puts my foot in an awkward position for the pedal. But if I slide the seat back to where it's more comfy for the pedals, then I feel like I'm really reaching out with my arms extended. So I had to just kind of find a compromise in the middle, and I was able to find a good position where after 10 minutes of riding, then I was fine. It's just something to keep in mind. With all the space that's behind the seat, I kind of wish that Kawasaki would have pushed the dash in a little bit farther so that the steering wheel could be closer to you while actually offsetting the pedals kind of farther back in the dash, so that you can find a more natural position between both your arms and your feet. But really that's going to come down to depending on your body type. In my 5'10" frame with a 32-inch inseam, I just had a hard time finding the perfect position between the pedals, my shoulders, and the steering wheel. One more little nitpick I have with the cab is right here in front of the shifter. My leg in the day and a half, 2 days I've been driving this around testing it, has constantly banged off of that, and I've got a pretty good sore spot on my knee. So one thing I like to see Kawasaki do is just add a little bit of padding right here to help protect that, because it has gotten really sore right here from banging off of that. So that'd be a nice little addition, is just a little bit of padding here to help keep that. The door hasn't been an issue. As you can see, it's sculpted here a little bit. I haven't hardly banged my knee off of that, but it's straight and smooth and doesn't have a corner like this does right here. So just a little nice pad right here would be great. So yeah, besides that, This interior is very nice. Tons of visibility. I love the visibility in this thing. Even though we got a huge little storage area in the back where this thing is super long in the back compared to the front, I can see out there no problem. So very, very nice. This is a 68-inch wide machine. It doesn't feel it. Visibility is great, so you can see all four corners. Yes, through the tight woods, I still had to kind of go slow and pick my lines slow for maneuvering through trees. But my biggest worry with this guy was it's not going to be woods friendly, as big as it is. Let me ease your minds right now and rest assured, this machine is very woods friendly. I took it through every trail I had to take the RMX on, and it was able to do it. And it looks like we have a tree across the trail here. Very nice. Well, to prove the point, let's see if we can just cut up over the bank here and go around it. Yeah, no problem at all. Big bank over. Again, this thing is super planted. Very planted. If I had this thing in the rocks or in super technical terrain, it would hail no problem, and you guys know it does. If you're watching this, I'm sure you've watched other review videos where you've seen this thing out in Moab doing all the rocks. The KRX1000 is a phenomenal climber, and I can attest to that by the stability I felt with my time in it, that it is a phenomenal climber. The only thing about the cab I don't like is, guys, this thing is very, very loud when cruising. Being an RMAX owner, I get sick and tired of seeing all the complaints from everyone over how loud the RMAX is. Well, this KRX1000 is far, far, far louder than my RMAX.
Normal maintenance items are super easy to get to. Battery is right here underneath the driver's seat where you can get to it quick. Air filter, again, behind the driver's seat, there's a little panel here with a couple twist clips. You just spin, the panel drops down, and there's access into your air filter. You have your oil fill on the right side of the engine with a sight glass for getting proper oil level, and then the oil filter is right above both. Super easy to access on the KRX. And then to drain your oil, just simply crawl underneath, and the drain plug is right directly underneath the engine here on towards the right side. Easy to get to. Rear diff, same thing, just go behind, find the first big hole, look up, and you'll see an Allen head. That's your drain. Fill on the right side of the diff, easy to get to. And again, the front, just straight underneath, find the big hole, look up, and there is your front differential drain with the fill, easy to access as well.
This KRX feels like the gearing is very low too, which is nice because even putting like I am now 11 miles an hour through the woods here, I have not felt the need to ever go into low. The downside to that is when you are in low, this engine screams pretty good. I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but for a machine that's already loud in the cab, when you're in low gear, cruising 10 miles an hour at almost 5 grand on the tack, and the motor's screaming, that just amplifies the noise. But again, this is an off-road machine. You guys need to quit being so picky about how loud something is. It also probably means you're not wearing a helmet to muffle it, so wear your helmets. Let's see how this does here on the turn that the Talon couldn't handle, because this is the same width as the Talon R. The Talon could not swing this. Oh, KRX, no problem. And that is one of the things that makes this a machine I really, really like. It's big, it's wide, it's stable. It is still very, very nimble in the woods, and it's impressed me how nimble this thing is in the woods. turkey for supper. So yeah, anyway, back end feels like it wants to sling out, and it never feels out of control. So you can drift it if you want to, or you can easily get it back into control, tuck it back in, and control your turns. So engine braking on this thing is phenomenal. Let's go into low gear here. Let's creep down to where this is steep. Now, camera never does it justice, guys. You probably can't tell by looking out this. This is a steep section here. Let me get, I don't know if there's any level place here. I have a little leveling app on here. Level. Okay, so I'm gonna try to use the bank out there. There is level right there. And to tip this to the bank, we are about right there. So we're at a good 28, we'll say 26 to 29, 28 degrees of slope here. I'm in low drive. I'm just gonna let off the brake. And look how slow this thing coasts. I'm not touching the brake. We're going 1 mile an hour down this hill, and I am not touching the brake at all. That is phenomenal engine braking. Look at this. One mile an hour. Again, I know it's hard to tell how steep this is on camera, but we are just coasting 1 mile an hour. Cruise control, just relax it. But if you don't have to be on the gas, you put this in high gear, engine braking is not so pronounced. It will coast and you will continually gain speed, 4, 5. So it really doesn't hold back in high gear. Even if you flip the throttle, it does not hold back in high gear. Which is good for when you're ripping and you want to maintain your speed. Just leave her in high gear. You got to rely on your brakes more, but you don't have to sit there on the gas. I would literally, if I wanted to go down this hill with any amount of speed, I would have to stay on the gas. We're going to go down here and climb back up this rocky section, just because this is kind of the only place and the best place I have to demonstrate how well of a climber this thing is. It does phenomenal at climbing. This is even steeper yet. Let me see here. Let's get this back out. This is, so here's our slope. We are about 32 degrees right here. So we're gonna go down to the bottom here of the creek, turn around, and this thing just eases right up over it. It's impressive. Again, looking straight ahead here on camera, it looks like nothing, but it almost looks like this is a straight up vertical wall when I'm staring at it. Low gear, 4-wheel drive, and this is loose, rocky stuff. I mean, look at this. Again, on camera, we're like, shoo! On camera, it doesn't show it, but loose rocks, and this thing just putts. So again, if you're looking for a good climbing machine for hitting technical stuff, so far this KRX has been the best climber that I've ever experienced. My RMAX does a really good job, feels really stable, but it doesn't hold a candle to this KRX1000. It just feels so stable and so unstoppable for any climbs.
And the 4-wheel drive is a tried and true 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive with front diff lock available if you need it. These tires tread not the best, so here in the mud, it didn't do so well. Again, the KRX is a big, heavy machine, so it is going to struggle a little bit through the mud unless you have a super aggressive tire, because the weight's going to cause it to sink. And here when we did our little 4-wheel drive test, we did have to bump it, but I was able to get out of it in just regular four-wheel drive without having to use diff lock, but front diff lock is there if you need it, so I wouldn't worry about taking it anywhere you wanted to go with.
And let's open her up and hope there's no turkey! Yahoo! It does have the top end to go pretty fast for a naturally aspirated machine and have some great fun. So at this point, these KRX1000s have been around for a while and they have proven to be a pretty dependable machine. Again, this one has almost 3,000 miles unless we've gotten out 2,968. It has a few rattles like the doors, there's a few clunks in the suspension, but overall with that many miles it's still a very solid machine, and time has proven these things to be very dependable. Now the earlier models like this 2020 and I think in the 2021s, maybe the 22s, I'm not exactly sure, they did have some transmission issues, but the newer models have fixed that to where they're rock solid, so those issues are non-existent anymore. So that's something to consider if you're looking at getting a used early model KRX1000. Some of them did have some transmission issues. It wasn't all that was affected. It was a bad batch of the gears in the transmission. There was one gear in there that wasn't quite right when it was manufactured, and that caused some issue with certain production runs. But other than that little hiccup, KRXs have been a very, very solid machine. And one thing that speaks for the dependability of these is the fact that a simple search on Facebook shows there's not a whole lot of used KRXs on there. I think that's because they're just such a dependable machine. People that have them are keeping them. And the ones that are on there are fairly decently priced. I've been seeing a range of price from $14,000 to early models like this one to up $18,000, $19,000, depending on how old and the mileage. So you can save a little bit of money with a good used unit. These things go brand new for around 21 to 22 MSRP, I do believe, to where they're still at. I like this KRX1000 a lot, so much so where I would, if it wasn't paid for, consider getting rid of my RMAX for KRX1000. Out of the three naturally aspirated machines I reviewed, the Talon, the Maverick Sport, and the KRX1000, I do like this Kawasaki the best out of all three. The only reason the Maverick Sport might edge this guy out on which one I would buy is because it is obviously narrower and more nimble in the woods, and that's what I tend to go for. I love my 50-inch machines, but I love the stability a wider machine goes, so like a 60-inch Maverick Sport is right in that perfect sweet spot for me. My Pioneer 500 with the long travel was at 60 inches. It was perfect for all my trails, so that'd be the one factor that would have me choose a Maverick Sport over a KRX1000. But I have more things I like overall with the Kawasaki than I do the Can-Am Maverick Sport, so it would be a hard decision for me. Hopefully a decision I'm not going to worry about making anytime soon. I got more stuff I want to do this year with the RMAX. It's paid for. It's still pretty low miles. It's got a lot of life left with it, so we're going to keep it for a little bit. But I was really impressed with this KRX. Again, is it a pure sport machine? I gotta say it's not. Is it
a very, very good sport recreation machine? Absolutely. It's a fantastic machine. The best machine you can get for technical climbing and technical riding, in my opinion. It even ekes out the R-Max as far as that goes. A very, very solid unit. It's comfy, it's capable, it looks good, it's reasonably priced. What more could you want? Now, at the introduction of the KRX1000 H2s that come with a factory supercharger, is that going to phase out the naturally aspirated KRX1000? I doubt it. There are people like me that are in the deep woods here of the Appalachian Mountains where a big turbo or supercharged unit is not necessarily and really can't be used, although people around here still buy the big racer turbos because they got to have the biggest and baddest. But I don't think that's enough of the majority to where the H2s are going to phase out the naturally aspirated KRX1000. So I think this guy will be around for a while. It has been out for enough though, we probably are due for a little bit of an update with them. My only concern is this recent trend for 2026 and now getting into 2027 model years. The upgrades that they have been doing technically are fantastic. I haven't been too great about the looks. The new Pioneer 1000s, oh, I think they went in the wrong direction with the looks of those. They looked great, they looked unique. Now they look like a Polaris Ranger had a baby with the Canon Defender. The new Gen 4 CF Moto C-Forces, I like that they're unique, but I don't know if it's a good unique or bad unique yet. I'll have to wait to see them in person. So if they do a little bit of an update here on the KRX here in the near future, hopefully they keep the looks, because I do really like the looks of this machine. We just need a few more little tweaks, like a little pad for my knee, because I got such a bruise here from banging it off that center console. Maybe a little bit more solid doors that kind of hold up a little better. This guy probably just needs some new hinge pins and it'll be fine. Again, used machine, 3,000 miles, so that's to be expected. I don't know a machine out there that doesn't have some door rattles after that amount of time, except for our Talon. Our Talon still was pretty good and solid yet, like it was new. So I guess that's the difference between Honda fit and finish and dependability against Kawasaki. And before we leave, once again, a big shout out to Mountain Extreme Power Sports in Ruckton, PA for lending me this KRX1000 here for a few days to bring you guys this review. If you are in the market for a used KRX1000, then make sure you hit up Mountain Extreme of Rockton, PA. Mention you're a subscriber to Appalachian Mountain Riders, and them guys out there will make sure to give you a special AMR deal on this exact KRX1000 here. So until I see you on the next one, keep on riding, and thanks for watching.